Now,
Barry's will fade in, interior second floor of probate attorney's building day. The probate attorney, Steve Hazel, is sat at the end of a table that seats 12. The head of the table is reserved for the probate judge, Judge Cashew, who has yet to arrive. Also sat around the table somewhat haphazardly are 4 other squirrels who are friends of Barry. They're all eager to hear what has been left of them after Barry's untimely demise. As we join the proceeding, the judge is just opening the door to his chamber and about to enter. The clerk of the court, Clerk Brazil, stands up to make an announcement.
All rise for Judge Cashew. The probate court is now in session.
Everyone stands on their hind legs. Judge Cashew scurries in and takes a seat at the head of the table and faces Steve Hazel.
Okay, everyone, be seated.
Good morning, everyone. So what's this hearing all about?
Good morning, Judge. The hearing is about Barry Nutmeg's will. Barry unfortunately passed away last week.
That is sad to hear. I liked Barry. He was a fun chap, as I remember.
Oh, you knew him then?
Yes, he was part of the bridge club where I go. We meet every Tuesday evening. Guess he'll be absent tomorrow evening.
Yes, I'm pretty sure he will, unless he does a Lazarus on us.
That would be a miracle, would it not?
Yes, it would, Judge. Would you like me to provide a replacement player?
Yes, no, it wouldn't be right. We can't just discard Barry's memory, but darn it, I do so enjoy my bridge evening. Who did you have in mind?
I know this fellow, Alex, who is very good at bridge. Would you like me to ask him?
I'll let you know. We aren't that proficient. Barry was an amazing player and always took us to the cleaners.
Okay, I'll hang fire for the moment.
Your friend Alex isn't going to take us to the cleaners, is he?
I shouldn't think so, but then again, he might.
An enigma, just what we need. I can't afford to lose more nuts on a bridge night.
Oh, that explains why Barry was nutty rich. That's what this hearing is all about, how to distribute his hoard.
The plot thickens, young Stephen. Okay, let's hear from the vultures. Potential recipients.
Steve Hazel gets up and introduces the 4 potential beneficiaries who are seated around the table. There is Jesper Almond, a red squirrel, just arrived from Norway, Julia Pine Nut, a gray squirrel who lives just around the corner from Barry's tree apartment, Hazelnut, also a gray squirrel who lives on the 10th floor of the apartment in the same tree as Barry, and finally, George Walnut, also a red squirrel, in from Scotland.
Steve, please, could you introduce these folks?
Surely, Judge. We have to my left, Jesper Almond, who just came in by boat from Norway. To my right, we have Julia Pinenut. She's a local, as is Hazelnut over there. Finally, we have George Walnut, who hitchhiked all the way from Scotland.
Welcome, one and all. George, taking a bit of risk hitchhiking. How long did it take you?
good morning, Judge. Good to be here. It took about 10 days. I had to hide a lot so as not to freak out the occupants of the vehicles.
I can imagine.
Very strange. We are so cuddly, and yet those darn humans are so scared of us.
I don't get it either. Perhaps it's due to the razor-sharp incisors that we have.
The judge exposes his incisors and makes an aggressive gnawing motion.
Quite frightening, Judge. I can see why they get scared.
Didn't mean to frighten you, George. Welcome, Julia, Hazel, and Jesper. Any interesting stories you'd like to tell us before we get started?
It was a rough journey, Judge. Hanging out with the rats in the ship hold is not the best way to travel.
Hanging around with the rats is really not my cup of tea.
When you have to get somewhere, one can put up with anything, including rats.
Well, you're here now. Rats not in tow, I hope.
No, Judge. They got drawn to some blue-colored mint-like substance and ate it and died. Luckily, I'm only drawn to nuts.
Yes, very fortunate. So how did you survive?
I bought some nuts with me in my suitcase and rationed appropriately, but I had to work hard to keep them away from those darn diseased rats.
Welcome, Jesper. How about you, ladies? Any interesting stories?
Sorry, Judge, no weird stories come to mind per se, but I did see some dodgy characters hanging around Barry's tree the day he died.
Now, that's interesting. Who do you think they were?
I think from the SRS, that's what was displayed on their vests.
Goodness, not the dreaded SRS.
Hold on. What is SRS?
Squirrels Revenue Service. They're ruthless. You really don't want to be on their radar.
Oh, I do recall seeing them as well on that fateful day.
They were sniffing, literally sniffing around the outside of the tree. Weird. You probably have more information, Hazel. After all, you do live in the same tree complex.
To be honest, I try not to get involved. They were mean-looking squirrels. They also had a red stripe painted on their tails.
They had a red stripe on their tails? Are you sure?
I believe so.
So why the concern with the red stripe?
That's the elite squad. You don't want those folks anywhere near you.
You have some real stranger folks in these lands.
Oh, we wouldn't be bothered with that lot in Scotland. I would love to see how they'd cope with a clan in closing time in Glasgow.
Yes, well, George, I don't think anyone would argue with that.
So who are these guys?
They smell net hoarding and suspect insufficient taxes have been paid.
What was Barry involved in?
I'm beginning to wonder now. So whatever you've been left by Barry, be sure to declare your inheritance to the SRS.
So, Judge, they have to be in touch with you.
Why do you ask?
I'm just curious. You seem to know a lot about them.
Actually, I try to keep them at arm's length. Steve, do you see any of them hanging around outside?
No, Judge. Certainly no squirrels with a red stripe on the tail.
Thank goodness for that.
You're not in trouble, are you, Judge?
Me? Nah. Anyway, let's get on with the reading of the will.
Judge, question. Do you want me to keep the recordings I have made of the conversation made so far?
You've been recording? Are you insane?
Well, yes, it's the law.
You don't want to pay attention to that.
But Judge,
As much as you're right, and I admire your adherence to the process, wipe that data out, Clerk Brazil. Mum's the word.
okay, but you will tell me when to start recording again, right?
Yes, I will.
How will I know?
Okay, when I say some special word, that's when you start recording.
What's the special word?
When I say when, you can start recording.
So now?
No, not now. I didn't say when.
Yes, you did. 3 times now.
Okay, I did, but I said that word 3 times, but it wasn't the special word.
How will I know it's the special word?
Okay, how if I put special emphasis on the special word?
Okay,
Shall we give it a try?
sure.
When. See the difference?
Ah, yes. Okay, got it. Thanks, Judge. I just wanted to check. By the way, those red-tailed squirrels aren't going to come for me, are they?
You're not hoarding nuts, are you?
No, of course not.
Then you have nothing to worry about.
We have a similar squad in Norway. They are the dreaded Ecor Inkomst Service, the EIS. They are those crazy red squirrels with the blue tails.
Are they blue because they are cold, or are they deliberately painted blue?
Painted out in winter. You're right. It's hard to tell.
Seems like a global crime, hoarding nuts.
Currency of the squirrels. Maybe they should float nuts on the stock market.
It would definitely, most definitely give me a chance to make more nuts, but we digress. Okay, Steve, let's get on with it. But before we do, how did Barry die?
Well, as I understand it from the coroner's report, he was out collecting nuts.
What else?
Yes, quite. Anyway, Barry was a bit of a nut job, pardon the pun.
Nice one. I really appreciate good jokes.
Yeah.
On this particular day, Barry was determined to collect plenty of nuts for the winter and then enjoy the rest of the summer before the fall set in.
Oh, he was always so determined.
Yes, but I think on this particular day, he perhaps pushed his luck a little too far.
How so, Steve?
From what the eyewitnesses said, he'd almost bought it several times that day, once being just missed by an Aston Martin DB5.
Oh, what a way to go. Gosh, I would have count my lucky stars if I were to get trashed by a DB5.
Oh, good grief. Bet you wouldn't say that once you've been flattened.
I really wouldn't be in any state too, would I?
No, I suppose not.
Beats being eaten. That's what keeps me up at night.
Oh, you poor dear.
It's a nightmare of mine being eaten by a fox or a cat or a coyote. Oh, worse than that, being picked up by an eagle, thrown thrown to its kids being torn apart, eaten alive.
What a thought. Oh, do we really need to get this graphic?
Just saying.
Carrying on, after the DB5, there was a close call with a bus.
Wow, he would have been paper thin had the bus got him.
Apparently, he had snagged a large nut and had managed to get it to curbside. Unfortunately, it rolled back out onto the middle of the road.
Don't tell me. He couldn't let it go, and so he went after it.
That very thing.
What a fool.
The bus missed him by a whisker, but Barry carried on, one whisker less.
Brilliant bridge player he may have been, but not too smart, eh?
Apparently not.
So what finished our Barry off?
A bicycle.
You're joking.
I'm not.
A bike? Not even a motorbike?
Nope, an ordinary bicycle.
I didn't know bikes were that lethal.
Yeah, who knew? Apparently, he just stopped near the curb for a breather, and from nowhere, a mountain bike ran right over him, broke his neck. Guess the sixth time wasn't quite the charm.
Broken neck versus becoming paper thin. Paper thin, prefer paper thin. Instant weight loss. Bonus.
Not a very nice way to go. The DB5 sounds much more desirable in my opinion.
See?
I'm guessing Barry took a breather in the cycle lane. Poor Barry.
Bike lanes, scourge of all squirrels.
You guys need to get away from your favorite ways of biting the bullet. Barry's luck just ran out.
That's the other nightmare I have. Being shot.
Oh, goodness, Hazel. It's a wonder you get any sleep.
Okay, now that we know how Barry met his demise, and as unfortunate as that may have been, time to read Barry's will.
Steve opens the envelope that contains Barry's will, unfolds it, and prepares to read it.
Okay, clerk, when?
Got it. Recording.
Okay, let's see what this says.
Steve clears his throat.
This being the last will of Barry the Squirrel, who was of sound mind when he wrote it. It says, I, Barry Squirrel, being of sound mind, to start off, leave all my Gore-Tex vests to George Walnut, my lifelong friend.
Oh, that's amazing. Thanks, Barry.
Why did he leave you the Gore-Tex vests?
Have you experienced the weather in Scotland?
Can't say I have, but I believe you.
Enough to freeze the sporrans off a Scots squirrel kilt. I'll have you know. Thanks. They'll keep me warm and dry.
Enjoy your vests. How did you meet Barry?
That was a couple of years ago. Barry was north of Hadrian's Wall on a visit. We met in a pub in Fife. He wanted to learn the wee Scottish dance MacDonald of the Isles.
I'd never have guessed that about Barry.
We struck up an instant friendship. He had 2 left paws and 2 left hind legs. I'll miss the wee lad.
Continuing, next, I leave my collection of pine nuts gathered over years of climbing spruce trees to Jesper. Also, I leave a quarter of my stash of acorns to Jesper. He goes on to say, the acorns are a great antidote for your allergy to pine nuts.
And I leave the pine nuts behind. George, want to swap some of your Gore-Tex vests with the pine nuts? I'll give you some of the acorns as well.
Oh, thanks, Jasper. But I can't use pine nuts. I don't like acorns either.
But they are good as mattress fillers, the pine nuts, that is.
Oh, so you use them.
But I can't drag them all the way to Norway.
Too bad, laddie.
I thought Scottish creatures were different and affectionate.
Where did you hear that?
A Scots squirrel told me.
Well, that explains plenty.
You're definitely not like how Barry described you, kind and accommodating.
Barry was such a liar. And you fell for it.
Now, gentle squirrels. Jesper, you may leave them behind. Tell you what, I'll sell them for hazelnuts, which you can take back with you. How does that sound?
That sounds like the plan. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, Jasper, I'll tell you what I'll do for you. I'll give you a couple of vests for some of those acorns. Say 10.
Thanks to George. That helps. Done deal.
Nail squirrels. All tail and no empathy.
Yeah, Hazel, I get that.
Jesper, I meant to ask, where did you meet Barry?
He arrived in Oslo a year or so ago.
He was a traveler?
That he was. Anyway, we met him in a park not too far from the docks in Oslo. We struck up a friendship straight away.
Intriguing.
Did you know Barry liked to put on accents?
No, he didn't come over like a person who could accentuate.
Yes, the right actor he was when I found out I took him to a karaoke bar.
Did he sing?
No, better, he was put on a show with a Swedish accent, specifically the Swedish chef from the Muppets. Gurdy, 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 goo. He was a riot, an instant hit.
They weren't offended?
Oh, on the contrary, he was making Mickey with the Swedes, music to every Norwegian squirrel's ears. What a guy, I miss him.
Okay, carrying on. Barry goes on to say, the hoard of hazelnuts I have gathered need to be divided equally between Hazel and Julia. I think I should tell you what your haul is.
Oh, what? Isn't that bloody typical of a male squirrel? He didn't even ask us how we met Barry.
That's just because we're local.
Yeah, not good enough.
What a tough.
Sorry, ladies, I just assumed you met him in the local park.
See? He assumed. Not good enough like those who came from abroad.
Scotland isn't abroad.
It might as well be. You have your own parliament.
Oh, well, okay, but we're not foreigners.
And how do you make your haggis?
Ah, with hazelnuts.
Oh, you heathen. My grandmother would be turning over in her grave.
It's kind of difficult for squirrels to prepare sheep's stomachs.
Details, details.
Back to the business at hand. Sorry, ladies. So how did you meet Barry?
In the local park, like you assumed. Just messing with you.
We both thought Barry was just groovy.
Groovy. Right. So back to business. Do you know how many hazelnuts we were talking about?
No, not a clue.
Absolutely not.
Oh, about 500. That's 500 each.
Good grief. What will I do with that many hazelnuts? I'm on a damn diet.
Likewise.
Gals are about to become very rich.
Well, shouldn't be a problem. A lot will go to the SRS and taxes.
Oh, darn it.
How much, Judge?
No, about 40%, but a good tax lawyer should be able to reduce that to 28%.
Ordinarily, I would be happy as I don't really want that many hazelnuts, but I really object to giving away to those thugs.
After what you said, Judge, yes, thugs, for sure.
Okay, here's the deal. I can take some off you. I happen to be a registered charity.
What charity?
It's a charity for treeless squirrels.
And what exactly does your charity do?
We take all donated hazelnuts, we plant them and nurture them into strong and healthy trees.
What happens to the nuts?
We reinvest them into the charity. Some are given to the workers as salary, the others are planted.
How does that benefit us?
Well, it's tax deductible. So if you give me or my charity, say 140 hazelnuts, which is 28%, the SRS will give you back 70. But they have to cover their costs too, so they will withhold half of that. You will be 35 hazelnuts better off.
That sounds great.
Can't I give more to your charity and so get more back?
I'm afraid not. It would be like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're only allowed to give 50% of the tax amount.
Who's Peter? Who's Paul?
It's just a saying, Julia.
It's way over my tail.
And what a lovely tale.
Tail squirrel, huh?
Never mind.
So, Judge, can we get a receipt should Julia and I decide to donate some of the hazelnuts to your charity?
Yes, of course. You can count on it.
The thing is, Judge, I haven't seen that many hazelnut trees around.
Well, of course you don't. They're not here. The nuts get shipped out to well-deserving areas.
Like where?
Sounds like you don't trust me, ladies.
Well, Judge, you did say you lost a lot of nuts to Barry at Bridge. We're just a little bit wary.
Totally get it. You don't have to answer today. You have some time.
Just then the door swings open and two SRS agents enter the room. They turn towards the judge and address him.
Hey, Stan, did you get them to sign up for charity?
Can we take the hoard away?
Gentlemen, please, this is a private hearing.
Judge, who are these people and why are they calling you Stan?
I don't know, Steve.
Judge? Stan, why are they calling you judge?
Did you get the stash?
Listen, ladies, you better get your tails out of here or else.
Listen, Buster, you just sit your ass down and cooperate.
Yes, Sir George, just sit down. He's not a judge.
Good advice, buddy.
So you're not really a judge.
I knew I smelled a rat.
I've seen the dead rats and I don't smell a thing.
Oh, brother.
Okay, I'm not really a judge. I am Captain Stan Peanut, and we gather ill-gotten nuts.
Not even I knew that. But I know you, Judge. Just goes to show. Do we really know anyone?
These are not ill-gotten. They're part of Barry's will.
No, Barry had been procuring illegally obtained nuts for ages. That, unfortunately, he got run over. We saw a chance to impound the nuts, and so we set it up.
So all this is a sham?
Not quite. You still keep the best, and Jesper still keeps the stuff. But ladies, you get nada.
Well, that sucks.
Waste of time.
I know it seemed a bit elaborate, but we had to make sure we also nabbed any of his gang. Unfortunately, none turned up. We know none of you are involved, so you're all free to go.
Steve Hazel, Julia Pine Nut, George Walnut, Jesper Almond, and Hazelnut all stand up and make their way to the door. The two agents wheel in several wheelbarrows to cart the horde of hazelnuts that are in the room next to the office.
Oh, shame. I thought it was too good to be true. Oh, well, easy come, easy go.
After Steve Hazel, Julia Pine Nut, George Walnut, Jesper Almond, and Hazelnut leave the room, the agents and Stan start loading the nuts into the carts.
Well, Carl and Colin, a good day's work, right?
Yes, Dan. That 333 for each of us.
Yeah, it's a good haul.
Let's get these loaded into carts and get the hell out of here. Just leave the one nut behind so we don't appear greedy.
What do I do?
Oh, I had almost forgotten about you.
I won't talk, I promise.
I know you won't. I know where you live, Bristol. Besides, we were thinking of offering you a job with our outfit.
Really?
Yeah, you're a good writer and we need our exploits recorded. Want in?
Sure. The pay sucks here anyway.
Welcome on board.
The four of them load the carts up with the hazelnuts and head out with their stash. Fade out. The end.